Good evening, council staff, members of the public. I declare the special ordinary council meeting on the 30th of March 2024 open at 5:30 p.m. Everyone please stand. I wish to acknowledge the Gadigal people as the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on and recognise their strength, resilience and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. Item number 3. This meeting is being live streamed and audio being recorded to facilitate a community participation for minute-taking purposes, which may be released upon request to third parties. In accordance with Clause 616 of Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law 2014, members of the public are not permitted to use any visual or audio electronic device or instrument to record the proceedings of any meeting unless that person has been given permission by the presiding member to do so. Members of the public are also reminded that in accordance with Clause 617-4 Standing Orders, mobile phones must be switched off and not be used during the meeting. 3.1 Attendance. I notice that all councillors are present and attendance will be listed under item 3.1 of the minutes. 3.2 Attendance by telephone internet communication, there is nil. 3.3 Apologies, there is nil. 3.4 Approved leave of absence. CEO, do you have any approved leaves of absence at all?
We have none, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Item number 3.5 Disclosure of interest. CEO, have we any disclosure of interest at all?
Mr Mayor, I have one from myself for item 8.1 tonight, and that's a financial interest. And I understand that Councillor Turner has one as well.
Okay.
Disclosure of interest 7.3.1 regarding the partnership agreement with Chamber of Commerce. It's an impartiality in as much as my employer is a member of the Chamber.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Turner. Are there any more disclosure of interest? No? Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor
Mr Mayor, I'll disclose an impartiality on 8.1.
Yep, what is that, Councillor?
Impartiality on 8.1.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item number 4, public time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions and take council statements. As this is a special council meeting, questions and statements are related to the purpose of this meeting only. Clause 6.73 of the Town of Port Hedland Standing Orders Local Law requires members of the public wishing to ask questions to complete the question form and place the completed form in the tray provided. If myself as a party member determines that questions and statements are out of order due to offensive or objectionable expression or defamatory, they will not be considered, recorded nor responded to. 4.1 Public question time. I declare public question time open at 5:34 p.m. CEO, have you received any public questions at all?
I've not received any, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Do any members of the public wish to ask any questions on tonight's items? Yes, Roger, come forward. State your name and address for the record,
Roger
please.
Higgins,
Thank you.
19 Edgar Street. I'd like to ask with regard to the land that is immediately adjacent to the large camp out there in the south. Immediately opposite that, there's a proposal that a new camp is going to be there. Is this land that council owns? And secondly, if it is land that council owns, when did they acquire the land and under what terms did they acquire it?
Okay, I'm pretty sure we actually have a CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We don't own the land, but we have a management order over the land, and we are in the process of negotiating with the state government to acquire the land.
So does that mean that there will be a cost to the Town of Port Hedland to acquire the land? And if so, what is the estimated cost that might be?
Yes, there will be a cost to purchase. I believe it's in the agenda item and it's in the order of $660,000.
Sorry, 660,000 for what area?
Don't have the area in, no, the director knows.
The land area is approximately 10 hectares. The town had a market valuation of approximately $660,000. We are adjusting the existing boundaries to coincide with the Crown subdivision that was supported by council last year.
That sounds like a very generous offer on the part of the state to the Town of Port Hedland. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Do you have any more public questions at all on tonight's agenda? Yes, Jan, come forward, state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan Gillingham, 3 Simmons Street, Port Hedland. And I just have a couple of questions. I too want to ask about the major land transaction item which is on tonight's agenda. When a council is purchasing or acquiring acquiring Crown land, I'm assuming it's Crown land, in this case for such a large block of land, the estimate that's in your agenda item, as you said, near on $700,000, would you be using this money from ratepayers' base of dollars, is it ratepayers' money that's being paid to use to buy this land?
It's under that, yes.
So then it's our ratepayers, and just for the public
Yeah.
who may be watching, it is ratepayers'
Of course,
money.
absolutely. All the money comes, yes, exactly.
Okay. Has there been a public consultation to the public yet about all this? Do they have a say in this at all?
Craig. Yeah, Chair, sorry. Yeah.
The major land transaction business plan was advertised for 6 weeks in accordance with the Local Government Act, Section 3.59.
And also through the chair, was that amount of money noted that it was going to be ratepayers' money that is going to be purchasing this land if the purchase goes ahead? Was that advertised
I don't
through at the same time through the?
I think the business plan would have indicated the value and the purchase price. It wouldn't. I don't think it specifically said this is ratepayer funding, but it says it's Town of Port Hedland funding.
All right. And can I just add to that last part? And are the public going to have a say that now they know that this amount of money is going to be coming out of their ratepayers' base?
Chair.
Will they have a future say in?
No submissions were received from the public. Statewide advertising was undertaken as per the Act. I might add, whilst it is an upfront cost to the town, the revenue model is significant and provides a significant source of income for the town outside of the rates base to help fund projects such as the Sports and Arts Precinct.
All right, thank you. Can I just add one more to that, Mayor?
Yeah, sure.
Is that if this transaction goes ahead and a big camp is built, has there been consultation with future owners of this land, or future use of this land, and what are they going to give back to the community? What has been talked about? Has there been lots talked about what is going to be a return to our community?
Actually, we don't know who the client is, who is actually taking up the space, who's actually going to. Is that right, Sia? We don't know who the actual.
We know who the agency is that we are dealing with. That's Pacific Partnerships. We don't necessarily know which clientele they have who will be in those facilities. But yes, we are, as we do with all facilities, have them respond to us through a social impact assessment and a management plan over that land. Yes.
So that would be a next step, Mayor Carter. That would be the next step.
Correct,
That the public will also have say
Correct.
on.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's my
Okay.
two questions.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have any more public questions on tonight's agenda? Yes, come forward. Name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gillian Fisher. My address is 3 Mitchie Crescent in South Hedland. I have 3 questions for tonight. And basically they're obviously on the following on from what other people have spoke about tonight as well. With the major land transaction and the development that will ensue from there, how many rooms will be available to the public in that facility in terms of, emergency rooms, and how many rooms are available for council use, those sorts of things? What's the breakup there?
I think that we don't need that public consultation. Is that right, Sia? Or Chaz, do you want?
A development application is expected to be lodged in the next week for this development, which public consultation will occur. From what we understand in the plans, there's about 846 rooms for workforce accommodation located to the rear of the development, and 512 rooms for the use of tourist development, which from what we understand will be accessible to an extent to the public, in particular the communal facilities such as food and beverage and potentially sporting facilities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And can you also clarify, reading the agenda and the attachments, I wasn't quite sure, will this lot actually be leased when the town of Port Hedland actually gets its hands on it? Will it be then leased or on-sold to the developer?
I believe it'll be a lease.
Leased, yes, thank you. And my final question is regarding the 7.1.1 adoption of the 2023-24 interim budget review. What effect on this actual, the interim budget review, what effect does the fact that the Auditor General's Department is still processing the 2022-23 financials for the annual report?
Steve?
I can take that on notice if people
you
haven't got an
might.
answer for me.
Thank you, Ms. Fisherman, through the chair. Whilst we're waiting for the financial statements to be signed off, they have been finalised to an extent, and the impact has been that it has ascertained exactly what our 22-23 year-end surplus was. Okay, we started drafting this current year's budget with a forecast amount. So the impact within the Q2 budget review is it has revised downward that forecast to actuals.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any more public questions at all? Okay, I will close public question time at 5:42 p.m. Okay, 4.2 public statement time. I declare public statement time open at 5:43 p.m. CEO, have we received any public statements?
We've not received any so far, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, CEO. Do members of the public want to come forward and make any statements at all on tonight's agenda? Yes, Roger. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Dickens again, 19 Edgar Street. This proposal with regard to the acquisition of this land and turning it into what's effectively a very, very large FIFO camp, really, and this is what I want to challenge you councillors about. Just reflect upon those of you who have been elected relatively recently, what your statement said about what you want to do for the town. Now, a FIFO camp doesn't provide any amenity for the town whatsoever. What it does is produces a lot of income which gets exported out of this place. Now, I run a dental practice here, and I've been up in the Pilbara now since 1999. And when I came in 1999, I went to Karratha. The census figures for the year 2000 showed that Karratha at that time had, and this is what I want to challenge you on, population growth, or lack thereof. Karratha had 12,300 people in the census of 2000. Here in Hedland, you had 18,000, almost 900, because you had HPI. The most recent census figures show that Karratha is now above 23,000, and Port Hedland is not at 18,900 odd anymore, it's down at 15,400 or 500. So what you've seen in that more than 20-year period is a reduction in the population that lives here. There's been a massive expansion on the FIFO population, and I think the role of the council here has got nothing to do with supporting FIFO. It should have everything to do with expanding the population here so that we have amenity for the people that live here permanently. Now, my wife sits on the board of the Port Hedland Primary School Council. That school has got declining enrolment, and that's the school that serves the better part of this place. So when you have the major primary school having declining enrolment, what does that tell you about the permanent population? So please, when you consider this FIFO camp, which is all that it is, you need to take into account what you said when you were being elected. And every one of you has made various comments along the lines of, I want to see better services and facilities for the people that live here. The only way this place is going to grow is, in fact, if FIFO starts to be pruned around the edges and then gets pruned in a big way thereafter. It's not going to grow. You're not going to grow the population by expanding FIFO camps. So my challenge to you is, when this matter comes up, Vote along the lines of what you said you were going to do when you were elected, to improve the amenity of the community. And that means bringing more people into this community. Right now, as someone that runs a dental practice here, it is very, very difficult to actually get labour to come in and work there. I went this week down to Port Hedland Medical Centre to give blood and was told that no, they don't have anyone there anymore in the path lab. I had to go to the hospital yesterday to do that. Now that's an example of how we are losing people, key people we need in our community here to are here to serve the community. And unless you councillors start to think a bit more about the things you're voting for, you've got to think along the lines of growing that population, not making decisions that are going to see the income that's earned here exported somewhere else and spent. That's why we don't have things like Hungry Jack's, KFC, which used to be here. There is not the population to support those things, and your decisions are a big part of that.
Thank you, Roger. Do you have any more public statements at all? Yes. Jan, come forward, state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Jan Gillingham, 3 Simmons Street, Port Hedland. And good evening, councillors, Mayor, councillors, CEO and staff. Thank you. I guess not being on council anymore, I'm still getting lots and lots of phone calls. I guess perhaps our new councillors haven't advertised their phone calls very much, phone numbers very much. I suggest you do, because there's a lot of information that's needed for this big land transaction that's going on. I've never had to sort of go against FIFO workers and that have been in the town. I've always made my point across that because our town has been a construction town since 1960. I've not been here since 1960. I arrived in 1985. All right, so it was in quite the height just before the first big boom. I mean, I know that we're in the third big boom time now in Port Hedland. But just for a little bit of heritage on perhaps the last 30 odd years, is that in 1975, my father came to Port Hedland flew up on the MMA, the Robertson Miller Airlines, as it was called then. It was even before Ansett came and before actually TAA was even flying in at that time, no Qantas back then. But he was actually employed as a chef in charge of the single persons quarters in Dempster Street, which you've seen it as the detention centre, because it got taken out of the single persons area, and the single persons quarters was called the single persons quarters because of all the construction that started in the late 1950s, early 1960s. Yes, I've done my homework, but I've learned a lot about it. As a teenager, I was without my dad quite a bit because of him having to fly up for 3 months at a time and stay here for a month, because there were not enough aircraft to push people back and forth. But all the people that he cooked for, both at Dempster Street, single persons quarters, that's male and female single persons quarters, who were all working in construction at the big Nelson Point, all right? He also ran a mess as a chef on Nelson Point, so that the construction workers not only had their breakfast and their dinner where they slept, but they also had their meals at lunchtime. All right, and they would have their cribs, which would go out on the trains. The trains, would go for 10 hours and all that. Of course, it's a lot quicker these days. But this was construction. And the policies and everything about the town, and the town was a shire then, not a town, all right, a little bit of different things when it's a shire, is the fact that the policies and everything that was included in that construction was the fact that Mount Newman Mining Company, which is now BHP, Mount Newman Mining Company would have our construction workers at Dempster Street. Also across the road was in Dempster Street, where you see all the BHP houses now, that was also single persons quarters. There was rows and rows of single persons quarters, which became a Catholic high school, and then eventually has become the BHP 3-story place, which is empty at the moment. I think it's still empty. Right, but they were construction workers. They were the people in everything to do with the construction of Nelson Point. And the idea of that was that BHP, or Mount Newman Mining Company, would then build houses and flats, accommodation, to accommodate those workers who, were the construction dropped off, then they moved into Harper Street, those streets, Robinson Street, Thompson Street, all of those houses along there, and then in between the state government built public housing as well, which you've seen built and taken away and rebuilt, etc. And then they moved over to the back of Woodman Street, Craig Street, and then they moved into Cook Point, which is the area where I am, where it's near, where we've got, where I'm in Simmons Street, Rawlings Court, McPherson Street, right the way up to the Cook Point Caravan Park. A lot of the houses also, some of them still also exist, all the way down Athol Street. So there were your production workers. So the single person quarters then still stayed for a certain time. But then it wasn't needed very much because the family, these single persons got married. They met people, got married. They all used to go to the Cook Point Recreation Club, where everybody used to meet there, and it was a huge recreation. There was bowling greens there. There was a bowling green. There was a tennis club there. There was a big pizza place, which was our pizzas, Bruno's Pizzas. That was there. It was just a highlight activity. We had a shopping centre in Cook Point. I don't know if you know that. That's where our daycare centre is at the moment. The Len Taplin has been there a little bit longer. But you have to realise that it was all about the construction workers, right? So BHP, or Mount Newman Mining Company at the time, did the right thing. They did the right thing. They built the houses, which still now exist. Though I know there's a few houses living across from me that have been sold from BHP. They've let them go, but they still spent a lot of money on doing their houses out, which they still rent out to their production workers who are here. What we're seeing now with the FIFO is suddenly changed, hasn't it, the last few years? Don't blame COVID. This has come a long time before COVID. So our FIFO people now are production workers. A lot of them are production workers. Some of you may be sitting in this room that are production workers, living in BHP housing, or, I mean, you're not fly in, fly out. I mean, maybe some people could be fly in, fly out. I guess, unfortunately, it's going that way. But I just want to just enlighten the fact that when I sat around the table as a councillor and FMG wanted to, and they bought out the South Headland Caravan Park, and it became what you see, the Club Hamilton, they called it. They called it Club Hamilton. The same idea that came across the table was that these are going to be construction workers and that FMG was going to build houses. Yes, they did. They did. But we still know now that there's a lot of production workers are still now flying in and out. These companies should still be building houses, but picking up the land and building houses. Then we had the Gateway. Now, I remember distinctly the Gateway. All these were fast-tracked because we needed the construction. The town needed it. It had to go ahead. But the proviso was that these companies would build more houses so that their production personnel could be housed. And the discussions were, for example, Gateway was, once the construction's over, what are we going to do with the building? And the discussions around the table was, well, it would be a damn shame to, actually, sorry to use the word damn shame to demolish such an amazing cyclone-rated building. What could we use it for? So the way it was built so that if, for example, it could have been the bottom row, could have been the bottom area of the Gateway, could have been a retirement village because they knew that they knew that Stephen Street was coming to the end of its time. We discussed that as well. And I'm talking about 15 odd years ago, we're talking about that building, instead of being demolished, could be used for something else. What is it now? Their construction is up and running. Yes, they still have construction, but what are they doing now? Production workers are still there and rented out to other production workers from other companies. Oh, and they even bring in their little tavern, they even bring in musicians on their pizza nights. You know, they pay for musicians to come in and entertain everybody because people are too tired to come out when they've done a 12-hour day. which takes them 14 hours out of their day because by the time they get on their bus and they come back or they drive in their vehicle or et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm trying to enlighten here is that we talked a lot about the De Grey gold and having people living in our town. We've got to try and, council, you have to try and think about building, getting the companies to build their houses. Now, this is what is happening. The construction workers, yes, there's some still here, and yes, we had with the marina as well. Campbell's went in and bought Dempster Street. Thank goodness they did, because they're starting to clean it up. Still needs a lot of work done to it. But council gave them ultimatums of what they could do, yes. And there are people who are renting rooms there now, and they don't even work in the Campbells, they're from other people. That's great. We need it. We need it. But what are we going to do? What are you going to do for our town as a council looking forward? What, with this new land transaction, what are those conditions going to be? This is something you're going to need to talk about, because at the moment we're running out of accommodation. We don't have any spare accommodation. When is state government going to replicate the Osprey down in South Hedland? And you know, I sat around the table with some of your councillors when the Minister for Housing was here, and he said, we're not letting that replicate. We need 2 more Ospreys in South Hedland. I've said it before. We have over 50 teachers living in Osprey. These are key service worker housing area. Those teachers, yes, they need their housing. I cannot deprive them of that. But come on, you need to start thinking of these things. On any one day in Port Hedland, our population can reach another 4,000 because of the FIFO workers that come here. And I'm not having a go at the FIFO workers. My daughter was a FIFO worker. She was one person employed in her job along the railway line. And she asked Roy Hill, her company at the time, please put me in accommodation and I'll stay here. I'll move up here. I don't need to live in Perth. I'll be here. I'll go down to Perth whenever I want to on a weekend if I want to go and see the Pink Show or something like that. But they didn't allow her to have that. She wanted to. She was not just her. There were a lot of those people in the Roy Hill. And some of them have still got houses now, but how many more Roy Hill houses have been built? I don't think much more has been built. And this is what we really need to think about. Think about that camping gateway in South Hedland. You know, it is a lot of construction workers there. Yes, we've still got a long way to go. But like the 3,000 or 4,000 extra on any one day are production workers. I talk to them on the plane when I go on the plane. I say to them, how long have you been coming to Port Hedland? Oh, yeah, well, I come from Sydney and my wife's over there and that, you know, and yeah, well, it's not a bad place. We'd like to get a place over here. It would be good. Love to bring the family over, but there's no housing. Company won't give us housing. Right? They're production workers, right? So we must work together. We must work together and do a better job. I think Port Hedland, we can do a better job. So it's not that we need more shopping centres and things like that. Yes, we will need more shopping centres, but we need to really think about this. A lot of construction going on. Please think about this, everybody. And when these do come to the table, what are you going to do? What conditions are you going to do on it? Because you need to. You need to do this.
Okay, thank you,
I think
Councillor.
that's it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
I think
Suzanne.
I've done it my time.
That's okay, thank you. Okay, do you have any more public questions or statements? Sorry. Okay, I will close public statement time at 6 p.m. 4.3, petition interpretations, presentations and submissions. We have received one deputation from Rebecca Worthington, from the CEO of the Portland Chamber of Commerce and Industry in relation to item 8.1.3, the partnership agreement. Sorry, 8.1. Oh, 7. Okay, 7.1.3. Okay. Portland Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Rebecca, would you come forward, please, and give us your deputation? Sorry.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity for me to present this deputation on behalf of the Port Hedland Chamber of Commerce and Industry in support of the partnership agreement that has been put forward on tonight's agenda. So the Port Hedland Chamber of Commerce and Industry wishes to firstly extend its gratitude to the Town of Port Hedland staff for extending an invitation for us to engage in discussions and jointly develop a strategically aligned 3-year partnership agreement. Over the years, the Chamber and the Council have collaborated on numerous initiatives aimed at supporting the local business community under annual agreements. This innovative approach builds upon our past collaborations and promises to amplify the impact and effectiveness of our efforts for the benefit of the business community. We also extend our appreciation to the council members who joined us during a briefing, allowing myself and President Therese Anderson to present and inform the council about the Chamber's stance and endorsement of the proposed partnership agreement. The Chamber firmly believes that such a partnership will significantly enhance the prosperity of both local businesses and residents. Collaboration between the Council and the Chamber presents a remarkable opportunity to foster economic growth, promote entrepreneurship, and enhance the overall well-being of our community. By working hand in hand, we can leverage each other's strengths and resources to create a more vibrant and resilient local economy. The key reasons to support this partnership are: 1, to support our local businesses. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry plays a pivotal role in advocating for the interests of local business. By partnering with them, the Council can provide valuable support and resources to help businesses thrive, ultimately leading to job creation and economic prosperity. Number 2, community development. A strong partnership between the Council and the Chamber of Commerce can facilitate community development initiatives. Together, we can work on projects aimed at improving infrastructure, attracting investment, and creating a more welcoming environment for residents and visitors alike. Number 3, networking and collaboration. Collaboration fosters innovation. Through this partnership, local businesses will have enhanced opportunities for networking and collaboration and knowledge sharing, and this can lead to the development of new partnerships, products and services that benefit both our businesses and our customers. And lastly, advocacy and representation. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry serves as a voice for local business, advocating for policies and initiatives that promote their interests. By partnering with the Council, the Chamber, we can amplify us in its advocacy efforts, ensuring that the needs of our business community are heard and addressed at a municipal level. In closing, Council is urged to move forward with a proposal partnership agreement with the Chamber of Commerce and Industry for the benefit of Port Hedland, the business community and the local economy. We are passionate about seeing our businesses thrive and how we can act on their behalf to reduce the challenges of operating business in Port Hedland. So this partnership presents value within the activities that are aimed to do this. Together we can build a stronger, more prosperous community for current and future generations. So thank you for considering the proposal this evening. This is on behalf of myself as the CEO and our committee members. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 5. Questions from members without notice. Are there any questions from elected members on tonight's agendas? Yes, Councillor Blake.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that I have no questions.
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Are there any other questions from Councillor? Okay, thank you. Item number 6. Declaration from all members are given all due consideration to all matters contained in the business paper before the meeting. I invite all elected members to declare by a show of hands that they have given all due consideration to all matters contained within the agenda. Thank you, councillors. As we received the deputation in relation to item number 7.3.1, I propose that we actually move that item first on the agenda item. So I could get a mover to move that item. Thank you, Councillor Christensen. I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Turner. Is anyone against that motion? Motion's passed. Thank you. Okay, 7.3.1. Partnership Agreement, Port Hedland Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have an office recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority vote from Council. The Council, 1, endorse a partnership agreement between the Town of Port Hedland and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and 2, authorise the CEO to enter a 3.5-year contract with the PHCCI, and 3, allocate funds to the operating budgets displayed, and 4, request the CEO and his delegate to provide an annual report to the council on the outcomes of the partnership agreement. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Is anyone against the motion?
I'm against, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Rebello.
Good evening, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Rebecca from the Chambers of Commerce to come here and present to us. I'd like to say that as a council, we'd like to return your gratitude, and we'd say that you are a valuable partner to us, and that we have seen a successful sponsorship sort of track record between the both of us. It's been, like you mentioned, it's been a long-standing relationship that the Chambers and the council has, and the town has had. It's a mutually beneficial one, with the ability to provide services, to create new business engagement, and also to partner events. I'd also like to say that it weaves in beautifully with our current strategic community plan and with our corporate business plan. And that it does help us as a town, as with town services, to sort of create an attractive business environment for local business. Like it's already mentioned, it's a 3.5-year partnership and an ask of 270K, which will be distributed over 4 financial years. So if you look at it just monetarily, it does make good business sense to go ahead with it. I would also like to add that the town is on the cusp of a major sort of economic development coming up, and that then this partnership is of mutual interest and something that we should support unanimously. Like Rebecca mentioned, we can work with supporting local business. There is a working collaboration, there is knowledge sharing, and there is advocacy. To those who are against it, if we did not go ahead with this partnership, then how do we bridge the gap is the question that I would ask them. So in conclusion, I would say that it makes good business sense to go ahead with this partnership, and that this partnership would be measured against KPIs. And so you are constantly measuring whether you are achieving the progress that you want to achieve. So for those reasons, I would say we as a council should support it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Councillor Rebello. I don't think I can add too much more to that, other than what Council needs to realise is that the Chamber of Commerce is closing a gap for us. We don't have the experience, the expertise, or let alone the capacity within the town to be running such a program, especially working with local businesses and engaging with them. So I too would encourage everyone to be voting for it because it makes perfect business sense. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bennett. Those against the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Blanco.
Okay, I think just in comment to some of the previous comments, yeah, it does make good business sense if we find some supportive outcomes for the money that we spend on this in this area. And the Chamber has been here for many years, and they've charged the people of the town and the businesses a lot of money to be members. They should already be doing the work that was stated in the CEO's statements. So again, I don't really see why we should be paying as a local government for the mandate that is set by the members of the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm not in support of the Chamber of Commerce getting any ratepayers' money. I don't believe the Chamber is supporting the needs of the local business community. I think they've lost their way. The majority of its income comes from the major miners. It's the very organisations that create the detrimental effect on the small businesses of our community. By receiving funds from the major miners, they become ineffective in supporting the real issues faced by small business, the small business district, because they cannot bite the hand that feeds them. When we give them money, the same effect takes place. They will not critique decisions that the council's making. Not that they do that now, because the industry partnerships they have entered into don't allow that to happen anyway. But they should be here tonight opposing the proposal that we've got on the camp, because it's clearly detrimental to the small business district of Headland. Additionally, like I said, they receive funds from our ratepayers for being members of the Chamber. Now, regardless whether you're a renter or owner-occupier or business, you can pay to be a member of the Chamber, you know, and have the benefits of what their mandate is, which is to support the small business district of Headland. But now they're wanting funds from the same ratepayers that pay their memberships on top of the membership. That to me is double dipping. Now, I've asked for the financials of the Headland Chamber because, you know, they've asked for a funding partnership agreement. And they were quite offended that I would ask for that. It's a standard responsibility of the council membership to question the use and requests of ratepayers' funds. I didn't get anything. That in itself should be enough to reject this proposal. If the council agrees this funding doesn't need to provide any financial backing or documents supporting the good use of not only their members' funds, but the additional use of ratepayers' funds, then I don't think we should be supporting it. All of these things that this 300 or 270 or 300k is supposed to go towards should already be within the Chamber's scope for their members. They don't need ratepayers' money. The Local Government Act states the council is here to transfer information from the local community, whether it be residential or business, to the administration for consideration. I don't need the Chamber to tell me anything about the challenges of doing business in Headland. I've had 30 years of first-hand experience. If the town needs any advice on the health of Headland's small business, I can spit that out for free. Ratepayers don't need to be charged for it twice, considering they're already paying me to be a council member. Any Chamber of Commerce in WA is there to support and grow the small business community. The major miners have more money and lawyers than any of us put together. And they can look after themselves. I've said this before. The Chamber of Commerce needs to go back to its core function of supporting the small business district and all the issues we face to keep the doors open within their current financial structure. That is their mandate for their members. So I can't support the proposal, and I ask the council to support my views because they are good views and I have extensive experience in this, and I don't want to see any ratepayers' money fund the chamber over and above the amounts that we already have in our policies that they can apply for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Blanco. Anyone else for? Yes, Councillor Turner.
Thank you for the points that have been made so far. Look, I view the Chamber as a strategic partner, and as a partnership, I think it requires more investment. What we have here is a unity of purpose where the Chamber is committed to advocating and supporting the needs of small business, and equally the Council wants to create and foster that growth for the town. What this partnership does, it gives us a platform and purchasing power to promote the brand of Town of Port Hedland in a way that we ourselves, I don't believe, have the capacity to do. This is a way of working. It's an agreement, and we have already entered into several agreements. Care for Hedland, SAFE, and I think this is a way of working because it allows us to leverage the skills, the resources and the energy of the Chamber. And so this is the platform Town of Port Hedland needs. And so let's draw on that energy because it does align with our strategic vision. It does align with our plans. And they are supportive of the shared outcomes that we have. So that's why I'll be supporting this proposal.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Turner. Is there anyone else against?
Yeah, I would like to speak on that. I have been a business owner here for 28 years now, and I used to be a board member of the Chamber of Commerce, going back about 15 years ago. I find that the Chamber doesn't support small business as much as they could, and sometimes it can be very not appealing to actually go there to actually join. Memberships are quite expensive. You do have to pay, like, even if you're only a one-person business, you know, you pay over $200 membership. I am agreeing that we still should provide the funds for major events that we actually sponsor now, and we do get recognition through that on sponsorship. I just feel that I think I haven't joined the Chamber of Commerce for very good reasons, and I don't think I would unless it actually improves a bit better on some of the staff. And that's right. I just think that I'm happy to still support the partnerships for functions like the Business Year Awards, economic developments and that, but I'm not prepared to go into an agreement. It's ratepayers' money. We are actually looking at trying to save money in budgets now, so I think this is one that probably could go a bit back on the back burner for a little while until our budgets are where we should be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Button. Anyone else for? Anyone else against? Councillor Bell, would you like to sum up?
In conclusion, I would not want to repeat what I've already said, but I'll try and answer a few things which were brought up. Firstly, what is it that the Chambers of Commerce will provide in terms of services? I would urge the councillor to please look at the attachments, and there are key performance indicators which are measured and which will be reviewed on a quarterly and an annual basis. So there are those factors there, and it is specific, it's measurable, it's all in the attachments. Please have a read. Secondly, why do they charge for this service if they are already charging for services to their members? Now, the services they provide their members are lobbying to the government, providing educational opportunities, assisting business with marketing, and hosting networking events. So their members are paying them for the services that are provided to the members. let's not confuse that with the partnership that we want to have with the town. The partnership that we will have, the money is being paid, is to provide a service for that partnership. And let us also not confuse that with the monies that they receive from industry, because that is industry doing their social bit. So each of these things are different and they can be mutually beneficial to each other. It's that point of view. I would urge you to look at it from those eyes. Another point I'd like to make is, what is the alternative if we don't go ahead with this? It would mean that that the town employs a resource and pays 270K for 3.5 years. Go figure if that is something that is possible, even to employ one person. I would also like to urge councillors not to bring in their personal biases to the table, and that's a gentle urge. Now, in conclusion, I would say we need to leverage each other's strengths, and it is not them versus us. It is us going forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Okay, we'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? 6. Those against? 2. Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, let's go back to item number 7.1.1, adoption of the 2023-24 interim budget review. We have an officer recommendation before us that requires an absolute majority. The council, 1, accepts the mid-year budget review as at 31st of January 2024, and 2, adopts the Town of Port Hedland revised annual budget 2023-24 financial activity statement, and 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to submit a budget review to the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries. Can I have a mover, please? Move. Thank you, Councillor Rents. I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Is anyone against the motion?
I'm against, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rents, would you speak for it?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, yeah, I don't really have too much to go on it. I've be keen to hear what everyone else has to say. I just would like to get the motion moved and some traction on this agenda item, because it's very important and we need it to continue our operating of the town. So by not getting it done is quite detrimental to everything that the on-flow effect of that. I understand that there's might be some bits and pieces in there that people aren't quite happy with, but the fact of the matter is that we need to get it done. So we need to look into it and come to an agreement on something so we can keep moving forward. I'll just wait to see what everyone else has to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rents. Councillor Rebello.
I have 2 quick points to make. Firstly, that this item has been workshopped twice. So we have had a fair opportunity to get into the details and have a good look and go ahead with it if we agree with it. 2 points I'd like to make. Firstly, that the mid-year budget review still maintains a forecast of 200K surplus as on 36/2024. And secondly, that all of our sort of windfall gains have been transferred to reserves for future use. So we are doing the right things. And so I would think that council would support this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Anyone against? Councillor
Thank you,
Blanco.
Mr Mayor. Yeah, I seem to, you know, when I comment about, you know, items, you know, in the agenda, I seem to get some, you know, backlash from councillors. You know, the debate is the debate, and I'm putting points forward for you to consider to change your mind. That's what it's about. And I don't appreciate you coming back and critiquing my comments without actually putting some meaningful comments back to rebut what I'm saying, okay? If you don't understand it, just say you don't understand it and move on. But don't, rebut my comments that they don't make any sense. I really don't understand some of the comments that come back. But this item is very, very important. Now, you need to listen carefully. I'm not supportive of any changes to the approved budget. The council's approved the budget. You know what the budget was going to be when you approved it. You know what the community was going to get. And it was well advertised. And there was a big fanfare about it. But now we're saying we need to remove $18.5 million from the approved budget and forward it into 24-25 in the next budget. And that happened in the last budget as well, where millions of dollars were forwarded into this budget. But there's no questions around that. So the way I see it is if we keep forwarding these millions and millions of dollars into the next budget, effectively what that means is we can't spend the money we've got in the budget. So what that means is we need to reduce the scope of the budget, reduce rates to ratepayers. That's what it means, because we don't have the capacity to move forward with the money that we've got. We're overcharging, we're gouging. So, if we can't spend the money that we have allocated in the financial year because of multiple excuses given to us, my view is that we're overcharging the community. When we adopted the 23-24 budget, we still haven't received the auditor's findings for the 22-23 budget. The ARC documents state that there was 18 serious issues with the last two budgets, but they have not been presented to the audit committee. The ARC terms of reference were not adopted last night because it doesn't help the committee get the required information needed to interrogate the town's financial position. That's why it wasn't adopted. I've requested information, have been told, so I've requested information, and you would have seen the emails, I requested information as chair of the ARC committee, been told to ask through the councillor request process. So how do I scrutinise the town's finances in the ARC role and then advise the council correctly? It just doesn't seem possible. This, in my opinion, shows the current structure of the ARC committee is just a box-ticking exercise to get the council to endorse the content presented at the ARC meetings. And I'm not supportive of that. I also outlined some issues relating to the compliance audit return, like non-compliances of tenders. But the compliance audit return doesn't list any of those issues with the tendering. The compliance audit return is missing key areas of information that relate to the 22-23 budget. We need the audited budget to ensure the compliance audit return is filled out correctly. Additionally, I've been told by the administration that the compliance audit return is not a compulsory document that requires staff to fill it out. That statement is incorrect. That document is a legislative requirement and must be filled out correctly. That's why we have it. Now, in the ARC attachments, this is all public, so councillors, you should have read this. In the ARC attachments, it stated, it was noted by Paxons, that's our internal auditors, in calendar year 22 and calendar year 23, the actions arising from the Office of the Auditor General's management letters for the financial statement and IT audits are not included within the audit log. and Paxton recommend that the actions required arising from the findings of all providers should be included within the internal audit log and reported to the committee. So it wasn't reported to the committee, according to Paxton's. Now, I've asked the admin for clarification on those comments because we've been told the management letters have been issued. Well, that's the way I read that document from Paxton's. So in conclusion, I don't want to see the budget changed. We can note the review. We should, as good financial managers, wait for the auditor's findings before we complicate the financial position anymore by adjusting the budget. Now, considering the administration should not be doing anything outside of the approved budget, there should be no issues with this request from the council, and the changes will not affect the organisation too much because we're nearly at the end of the financial year anyway. So in conclusion, I'm requesting the council reject the half-yearly review changes, do not pass this item, and I also foreshadow a motion that states the council endorse the original 22-23 budget without any change, and any adjustments that are needed can be sorted at the audit finals at the end of this financial year. It really, in my opinion, won't change much. We're 12 weeks out of the end of the financial. We're already doing our 24-25 budget, and we can make those final changes at the end. Thank you.
Through the chair, point of clarification, please.
Yes, Gaz.
Can I request that that foreshadowed motion be drawn up so we can see the ramifications of it? I just want to be able to see it so that I can take it into consideration when making a decision, please.
Certainly, yeah.
And through the chair, may I also request a 5-minute recess so I can convene with the director to have a conversation in relation to how this might change, please.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll call a 5-minute recess at 5:33. Thank you.
we get to the foreshadowed motion.
No, I want before. I want an information before.
Yep.
Otherwise, how can I make a decision?
Yep, you can do it now. Welcome back, members of the gallery. I'll reopen the minute at 6:41 p.m. Okay, Councillor Christian, did you have a question regarding the...
So my first question is in relation to the suggested foreshadowed motion to yourself through the chair, and if you need some further requests from other people, by all means go and ask for it. My first one is I want to understand the liabilities that we face if this isn't approved, first and foremost.
Councillor, so you're saying what isn't approved are the half-yearly review or this motion?
Well, by approving this...
You're referring to the half-yearly review?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then the second one would be, can the original budget be sent to the Governor-General office to get approved as the Q2? Because I'm assuming by that we're still saying we have to send one off to the department. So I want to also get some clarification on that as well. Thanks.
Yes, Sue? Yep.
Thank you. Through the chair. Because I'll start by saying that a budget really is just a forecast, of best estimates, likely revenue, and expected expenditure to happen throughout the year. And the purpose of a review is to revise those estimates to what's more likely and more reasonable, and to take into account those movements and adjustments as such. And Councillor Rebecca picked up on those windfall gains and how do we address items like that. There are unforeseen things that happen throughout the course of the year as well. Additional building repairs might be required, so that's why we adjust capital works programs accordingly so we can respond to that. Pick up on the note of carry forwards. Sometimes those are beyond our control, and we have gone through this in the 2 workshops. There are reasons why we can't deliver within a financial year, and many projects are turning into multi-year events now, so that's why it's been put into reserve. The items that were carried forward in the previous year, a lot of that has been delivered during this year as well, so that's just the cyclical nature of it. The Office of the Auditor General, well, through their appointed auditors, they review our financial statements at the end of the year. It's hasn't been part of their scope to actually go through and review a budget. I haven't come across that previously. It's more around the confirming the financial balances, quantifying that we have spent so much money, we have received so much money. So their role is more around confirming the financial position, not so much around what our budget spends and how council has said this is how we'd like to spend our money going forward.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else for? Yes, Councillor Turner. Yep.
Point of clarification. What are we...
We're still working on the first motion.
Yeah.
First,
is this the alternate?
No, this is Officer's recommendation first.
You foreshadowed yours.
Okay, right. Okay.
So if this doesn't get up, then we'll go to yours, okay? Yep. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Turner.
I would like to say thanks. I'd sort of, touch on the points that the director made. I think they're all valid in as much as the budget is a forecast. I reject the notion that the town of Port Hedland is gouging the ratepayers and is gouging the community. I think that's just inappropriate in my estimation. What you see here is a responsible budget. You see a review. It is more than acceptable and appropriate to manage the budget in this way, where you have carry forwards for the reasons that have been explained. The other thing too is that there is a legislative requirement that we actually do perform, a mandatory requirement that we do perform the review, and that we have to report on that. So, that is important. It is critical. It's part of the way we do business. I will pick up on the points related to the ARC last night, because I sat on that. The two first motions, which was the term of reference and the compliance audit, they weren't voted on. They were lapsed. I moved the motion, and there was no seconder. So there was no debate. There was no discussion. There was no explanation given. So it's only tonight that I've heard Councillor Blanco sort of give an explanation or give his concern. So that didn't happen last night. That explanation wasn't provided. So, I find it surprising that it's thrown out. I'll tell you what, Councillor Blanco, you can use this for your podcast. Okay, this can use this fodder for your
Point of order through the chair.
Sorry. Yes.
Can I please ask that we follow through as per 9.7 of the standing orders being relevance? Can we please keep comments to the matter at hand being the adoption of the interim budget, please? And go back to order of budget, please.
Yep, thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. So look, that will be, I support the motion and move it forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Turner. Anyone else against? Anyone else for? Yes, Councillor Christian.
Rightio. I'll start the debate by saying thanks, as I always do. It's always good to have some vigorous debate. Second to that, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm chuffed about the current level of display that we received. I know Councillor Mbika, you've mentioned on the fact that we've had 2 workshops previously to that. I'll draw a reference that we've had nearly 4 last year. So if anything, if you want to go by history, we've actually reduced our level of oversight on this matter. I do want to sit here and sentiment and throw some suggestions out there that, in order to adopt this, we don't need to understand every little detail. But I want us ourselves to sit here and challenge ourselves and go, are we over enough of the current spend and the habits of that spend? And is it referencing back to our strategic plans? Is it referencing back to our CBP? Because that's what matters the most. We spent our money on what we say we are going to do through our CBP. And again, are we over all the new incomings here? Can we honestly sit here with our hand on our heart and say we are over that? I've had a good look at it. I've spent some time with the directors. So I thank to the directors and the managers for allowing their time to get me over some of my concerns. I do have some concerns. However, a lot of this concerns are procedural and are currently accepted by the administration, and there are some processes being put in place to ensure that some of my concerns are being looked into at least. So I don't feel that some of my concerns should stop or hinder some of the extra work that's coming in that are going to help several members of the group, including our members of the community. So, yeah, second to that, like you said, I disagree that this needs to be, that a budget should be agreed to 100%. We have to be fluid in this industry. We are dealing with so many different variables, unlike other businesses. So I think the fact that we have a risk matrix out there that identifies where our risks are accepted and where they're not accepted, that feeds into our discretionary spends, that feeds into our delegations. We are a very, very complex beast, and I would challenge anybody here, even Einstein himself, I would challenge to get 100% correct on the budget. Do I feel that this is an accurate representation of what's currently going ahead? I do, and I feel that it's in the right spirit of the CBP. So for that, I don't have any major concerns to say no to this. So other than that, again, thanks for the debate, and we'll see where it falls.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Christian. Anyone against? Anyone else for? Councillor Wrench, you want to sign it?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you everyone for the debate. Pretty much everyone stole my sum up comments there, but just to reiterate on it, as everyone has said, it is just a budget is a forecast. It's not set in stone. Things change with the current climate of the world and finance everywhere. It is very complicated and things do happen. As long as we are moving and keeping ourselves aligned to that to the best we can, and doing the right things with the changes that happen, then I'm all for it. The money that has been moved around, as commented on, $18.5 million moving over to reserves. As has been stated before too, we've had many opportunities to discuss this and get all over it. It's been explained in great detail, and as far as I can see, it's acceptable and responsible to do so. Sort of doing anything else wouldn't really make sense. And we have to remember, by delaying this, it impacts our opportunities for grants funding, and with up to 60% of our CapEx projects relying on grants, it is extremely important to get them in. Otherwise, we will be left up holding the bag and having to fund those things. I would just like to, as well, as part of this, was just to say thanks to the Director, being extremely helpful and transparent on all of this and being very patient with us to get this across the line. That's about all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rents. We now put it to the vote. All those in favour? 6. Those against? 6. Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 7.2 Community Services, there is nil. Okay, 7.3.2 Business Plan Major Land Transaction Lot 601 South Headland. We have an officer recommendation before that requires an absolute majority from council. That council 1 notes that the town intends to enter an agreement with the proposed developer per council decision CM 202324-198, and 2 endorse the detailed design submitted by the developer, and 3 notes a business case prepared and submitted for the state government, and 4 notes that the business plan of the major land transaction has been advertised in accordance with line number 3.59 of the Local Government Act 1995. And number 6, adopts a business plan to proceed the implement of the business plan subject to the state government endorsement of the business case. And 7, endorse the allocation of $700,000 to purchase the subject site 2324 financial year budget for strategic reserves. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Christians. Thank you, Councillor. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Is anyone against? Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Christian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
First and foremost, thanks to the members of the public who did come through to talk about this matter in detail. I guess when we start talking about locations and land where theoretical and housing, working camps, will be arriving is always going to be a touchy situation, and I do concur with some of your sentiments. It's going to be a lot harder to build a population base if we just keep on accepting FIFO camps everywhere as every answer. I will also highlight some of the things that were said from some of the members and concur again that yes, we are very quickly running out of housing stocks. We will start to see a dramatic increase in rental prices. However, although not the only result, I think this is definitely one aspect of the puzzle that we need. And the reason I say that is I draw reference to 3.5 years ago, there was never a housing crisis here. Again, we know it's cyclical, we know there's ups and downs. So 3.5 years ago, you could have bought a house for $200,000 here. You'd be very hard pressed now to find one for $450,000, $500,000 if you're very lucky. So I'm bringing that back because again, this is just a jigsaw puzzle. We as councillors will never sit here and tell you that we have the magical bullet. If we had that, and if anyone had that, they'd be a very rich person, but also would be a very thriving local government authority. So we understand this is not going to fix the problem that we're facing in Headland by attraction of people. We know it's not going to solve the issue by giving us all the houses and all the beds that we require in this town. But again, I keep drawing reference to the fact that this is a piece of the puzzle. I'm strongly in support of this currently because, as people who would know, we're talking about tens of billions of dollars of investment in construction coming in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, that we won't build ourselves by building standalone houses out of that. If we're concerned now about people and trying to hold on to the residents of this town, if we don't do anything now and put beds in place, we are going to be looking at housing prices where everybody is priced out of what I call paradise. I love this town, I'll always be in this town. So my concern again, if we don't action and we don't get on the front foot of this, we will be in a position in 2 or 3 years' time, which is even worse off than what we stand as we do today. Second to that, I want to draw a reference that yes, the town is working hard in other areas. You'll notice that we've got the project in for the key worker housings where we're putting our own money up and hoping that the state and federal government come to play with us. Is this the right thing to do? We'll leave that for council and for the community to come and tell us. But again, you'll see that tangibly the town of Port Hedland is trying new things to try and fix and better this place. Second to that is one of my biggest bugbears when I first got in here was the dependency the town of Port Hedland has on its rate base is ridiculous in my opinion. We are so dependent on our rate base paying the bills. This is another avenue where you will see us streamlining and breaking off in a tangent to have a different resource, a different revenue stream coming in to help us do what we do best and put the town together. So again, it's is this the perfect solution? No, I don't think anyone will sit here and tell you it is. Is this a good solution for the current situation? I do believe it is. Again, I'm eager to hear the people against and see if they can change my mind. So for now, I'll rest my debate there and leave it for other people to come talk to us. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Christian. Councillor Rebello.
Hi, everyone, and thank you to members of the public that came in and spoke to us today. Thank you for bringing forth your concerns. I'll try to address them. And again, like Deputy Mayor Christensen has said, we don't have all the answers, we don't have all the solutions, but we can only try and work towards a solution. All right. Firstly, as you have heard before, that this is state land, this is Crown land, which now we acquire. And we can assure you that the income that comes from it will go to future capital works for the town. So it'll be used for that purpose. Secondly, there is huge amount of economic development that we are at the cusp of it. And so we do need the housing, and this is one of the solutions. So there is not one single solution, but it's a multi-pronged sort of approach to it. So please look at it from that aspect as well. Thirdly, that there is now, so we are looking, why are these camps closer to town? Because one way of looking at it is that you integrate them socially and also to activate that space and bring them closer to town. They are also people, and so you can't say that that is separate to, everything else. There is a benefit in working together and integrating it. And another point to make is that if we don't go ahead with it the way the town is, they'd go to JDAP. So there are many ways of sort of going ahead with it. I would say we rather work with people and look at building that relationship so there is a benefit for it for the town. So I would urge that we look at it as a relationship building exercise as well, because we do need those houses. It is not that we don't need them. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Rebello. Anyone against the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Blanco.
Okay, so can I just straighten a few of the comments out? We don't make the decisions on the camp. The camp is, I think it was 300 million. It's a JDAP decision. Okay. But what we are doing is facilitating the camp proposal. We purchase the land for that camp to be built on. If we don't purchase the land, the camp doesn't get built on it, or they'll have to engage with the state government. So effectively, the way I see this, if this council approves this land purchase, then you are saying you want FIFO in this town. You want camps to be built in this town because that is the intent of this proposal. It opens the door to FIFO being used for the operational workforce. Now, like I said, this item is about purchasing the land, but the purchasing intent needs to be looked at closely, and you need to decide whether you agree to spend ratepayers' money on a local community destroying proposal. I don't understand how we got to this position. The town being in partnership with a developer that wants to build a mammoth camp overlooking our flagship community development, the South Hedland Oval, that is used by the majority of our kids playing their sport. When you break it down simply, it doesn't sound good. And it doesn't support good community planning. Anyone that's grown up in Hedland like me understands the damage to the community that the development of camps has created. And everybody talks about it, on how it used to be and how much it's changed. Well, items like this are the reasons for the detrimental changes you and the residents refer to. Why have we lost so many things and businesses that used to operate? And I'll go through a few, and actually a few of these were mentioned in the comments by the public today. But any of you that have been here a long time, the Fulani Shopping Centre, the Cost Plus Shopping Centre, the Cook Point Shopping Centre, you need to ask yourself, why did the yacht club go broke? You know, people go on and on about this, absolutely hammer us on social media. Why did the yacht club go broke? Why did the bowls club go broke? Why did the Finny club go broke? Why did the rec club go broke? Why are all the local grassroots long-term businesses closing their doors? Well, it's about population. We just don't have the residents, the residential people available to use the services. That means businesses don't make any money and they close. It's quite simple. It's not rocket science. Why don't houses get built in Hedland? That is a standard question that gets asked by everybody. What's the answer? It's purely economic. The financial return on investment is way too risky because of the roller coaster effect created by industry expansion, and that goes directly to camp constructions. Why would anyone build a house for $800 to $1 million when the value of that house is affected by a council making a decision to purchase land and allow a developer to build 1,500 FIFO rooms instead of 1,500 houses? 1,500 houses times 1,500 families equals stabilisation of the population base. Supporting community clubs, supporting community-based businesses. It's simple economics. But instead, we're talking about building camps. Camps don't create the advantage we desire that allows our kids to get a job or an apprenticeship in Hedland, because camps create a business model that sees the job application process based out of Perth. It's quite easy for employers then to employ foreign workers over residents of Hedland when you have thousands of FIFO beds, forcing wages down, eroding workers' conditions. This is also exaggerated when we have the Mayor of Hedland who is openly supporting foreign employment companies. Now, I ask whether there should have been some declaration of interest in this decision. It's just a question. Now let's look at the comment in the report that states that the community can attend the camp and use the facilities. Well, I think that's a joke of a comment, right? And I'll tell you why. A comment like that is supposed to attract support from us. Now, can you tell me if you would take your family into a wetness with hundreds of blokes that are looking at your teenage daughters for the duration of the experience? And what about the latest state government report into industry camp culture and industry not reporting rapes in FIFO camps. The report that looks into suicides because of FIFO life. The attitude of some FIFO workers that don't have any care when they come into this town because they don't live here. That's what we know. That's not what I'm saying. That is what we know through multiple reports. Is this council supportive of ratepayers' money going towards those issues? Where is the objection from industry on this proposal? I'd like to know that. The COVID border closures highlighted the risk associated with FIFO camps and employee travel. The economic detriment to WA and Australia, the conversation was widespread by decision makers. And they stated that the operational model should revert back to residential living so we don't face those problems again. I guess that's out the window now. Now, also the proponent has stated that they don't have any agreement in place to take up the rooms, and we heard the CEO mention that earlier on. But this proposal has reduced the car parking requirements significantly. So we've got 1,500 rooms and they've got 400 parking bays. And the excuse is that one of the proponents would take up 800 rooms and bus their people in and out. That's how they got the parking down to 400. Now, those of you that were at the presentation would have heard that. So, do they have an anchor tenant already? Sounds like they do to me. And if so, why haven't they told us? Because I'm sure that there would be some financial interest that would be required to be told to the council here from sitting members in order for them to make decisions or not make decisions. But maybe that's been left out to get this over the line. Now, the original intent of having camps was to house the construction workforce, nothing more. And then they would be removed. That's always been in the intent of camps. By allowing this concept to move forward, the deal changes significantly. The camps around town are now supporting operational jobs. And so does this proposal. So that would mean that our local residents will find it even harder to get a job in this town. This changes the dynamics of the town of Port Hedland. You may as well say we're going to be a big old camp. The rates generated from the dwindling permanent residential base will increase the pressure on those people that are here, you know, that are living here. Now, you know, I've said this to you before, you know, because the council says nothing, you know, the major miners and, you know, major investors ride roughshod over Hedland. Our strategic direction has always been to oppose the development of camps because of many factors. We don't need to approve this because it will go to the JDAP anyway for approval. But if we approve the land purchase, you're effectively saying you want this camp to be built. So, in conclusion, let me just remind you that camps don't support the local community. Camps don't support the family structure. They do not support local business. Camps do not support the town's growth. Camps do not support the town's financial position. It's actually detrimental to us. Camps do not support our kids that grew up in this place, Hedland, being able to get a job in Hedland and raise a family in Hedland, in the town they grew up in. FIFO workers don't vote for you guys to be in this position. You don't represent them. You represent the people that live here. If we continue to approve camps in Headland, you'll need to dramatically reduce the capital expenditure and rates because no one will be living here and using any of the stuff you're building. Residential living is what this council should support. This camp proposal does not comply with our strategic community plan. And camps increase the cost of doing business for local people, and camps don't build houses. So I'm requesting that the council reject the support to purchase a block of land for some developer to build a camp that our strategic plan does not support. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Blanco. Is anyone else for? Anyone against? Yes, Councillor Ritz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I've really been going backwards and forwards on this since it first came up. When it first came up, it seemed a very simple vote against for pretty much everything that Councillor Blanco has said. It is detrimental to the town. I'm not against FIFO at all. I'm in support of the FIFO camps we already do have and the people that are currently coming to town. But a camp of this size, this magnitude, and again in that location, just seems a bit too much, a bit too far. While it will, sort of stunt the, we will be losing a lot of income from it. I think the benefits from having locals in town and forcing the hand of the bigger companies to move people into town it well outweighs it. As has been said, we've all seen clubs, community groups, sporting teams all suffer over the years due to FIFO, people leaving, coming back, not staying around, and it is very frustrating. So while I am against it, the money would be very beneficial for us in the long term with our long-term financial plan, relief for the ratepayers, things like that. I don't, as Councillor Blanco said, I couldn't hand on heart sit there and say that I am all for it and want to endorse it. And I think we'll just have to work around the losses that we will get by not accepting it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ritz. Anyone else for? Yes.
Through the chair. Yeah, I do understand the concerns, and I think they've been shared at different levels by all. I think, though, there is a reality to what is before us in terms of future investment, the scale of development, which means that we need to be doing not one or two things at the same time, but we need to be doing three. And the reality will be that we need to engage with a FIFO economy as we already are. That is our reality. And as much as we want and we have a commitment to promote housing, the FIFO and work camps are here and they will continue to grow. The challenge that we have is how do you take that model and how do you evolve it? So, you know, when I don't know, 20 years ago you had the Donga camps and that model continued for a period of time. And then what you've seen is the emergence of the lifestyle village, which is self-contained. And I think there's a chunk of work, there's a big piece of work now that says, what is best practice in this area and how do we integrate those camps so that those people are not FIFO. When you think of FIFO, yes, they come in and out, but guess what? They're here for pretty much 6 months of the year at least. So how do we turn them from FIFO to being residents, and how do we welcome them, and how do we integrate them into, you know, what is the investment around our amenities? So again, I pick up the points. We need to invest in amenities so we do attract and we do grow. So, you know, that is our childcare, that is our sporting infrastructure, that is our schooling, you know. So it doesn't, it's not, you know, it's not all or nothing. We need to be working, you know, against multiple priorities, which is, you know, how do we work with a FIFO economy? How do we make that investment in social infrastructure? And how do we grow a town so that we are growing the residential base, so that perhaps, you know, Headland becomes a preferred location to raise families, because we are providing excellent services and we are making that investment, and people can see that in a way that it's not happening anywhere else. And I think, you know, from my understanding, if you look at some of the other towns in regional WA, they are actually, you know, probably several steps ahead in that they are bringing in those work camps or the FIFO and integrating them into the life of their towns. So, you know, it's a Kalgoorlie or a Coolgardie, or, you know, this is already happening. And so how can we learn from that? And my suggestion would be is that, you know, we do some significant, you know, we make an investment in best practice and look at how we can support that moving forward, so that we're generating both the economic benefit but also the social dividends, or the social benefit and the economic dividends. How do we do that better? So, and again, as a model, as a way moving forward, this also will generate a revenue base from which will, you know, we can then, you know, make that investment into those sorts of amenities, so, and services. So, I mean, that's why I'm supporting it. We all want to see our town grow. We all want to see families move here. We want to see housing, but we also need to work with our industry partners and those that are coming to Headland to get the best possible outcomes, and that we have that engagement so we can have that discussion. So thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Turner. Anyone's engaged?
I would like to.
Yes, Councillor.
I'd like to support Councillor Camillo Blanco and also Sven. I said, I've lived here for many, many years. I've seen many booms and busts. And I said, going back to a comment that Ash made, yes, you know, you could buy a house 200,000, you know, a few years ago. But you also need to go back to the bust that we had in 2007 and 2008, that between Karratha and Port Hedland alone ended up with 5,000 people in bankruptcies because of the boom. And then when people went to go and sell their houses, you know, their houses were devalued from 800,000 down to 200,000. A lot of families left. A lot of families are still leaving now because of things that still haven't been sorted over the last 10, 15 years. We had better facilities here, better things to do 20 years ago than what we've got now, even with shopping. So I said, I think there's a long way to go. I supported the last camp near Port Haven because it was going to be a development to upgrade it, which would have been a facelift, and that's what it really needed. But to go put another 1,500 man camp, where do we stop? During election, you know, people were asking, and one of the big things was to stop the FIFO camps and get more housing. Housing is a big issue. I think we need to put more pressure on the federal and local and state governments, you know, to do the business plans. There's people that do want to come here, and there's people that wanted to build the second Osprey, but the state government won't allow it. So why? Port Hedland, Karratha grows, people come back, they say, oh, look at Karratha compared to Port Hedland. I said, we're going to make it better. So where do we go? Another 1,500,000 mine camp is not going to do the job. The problem is that we have in camps, a lot of you wouldn't hear about the suicides or the mental health that go on it, but that we have to deal with in our local hospital, which is very, very sad because there's not the support here for people and they feel so isolated, and a lot of people cannot tolerate the FIFO life. Many marriages break up, people come here, husbands have come here, they've brought the families here, husband's had an affair, you know, husband, wife gets stuck here, can't go back to a hometown. You know, these are the things that are happening, but a lot of you don't actually see that, whereas in the job that I work in, you actually do see it. And to have people suicide in camps is not a very nice thing. And I said they don't have any options. Yet there is, you know, you try, it's still not. And a lot of them don't like the FIFO life, but they do it because they've got families to support wherever they are in Australia, overseas. So I'm not going to support it. I think I did support the last one because it was an upgrade, but I think this one is 1,500 and it's a big camp and it's just not what I was voted in for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Butson. Anyone else for? Us against? Someone, Councillor Christensen, thank you.
Again, thanks for everybody's input in this debate. It's always going to be a hard one to get through. There was a fair bit spoken about just before, so I'll touch base on a bit of it. Very much like I spoke about just before, very much like the solution to find and build more housing is a complex one. I find it ironic that we seem to think that we found the holy grail of the problem in this instance. I'll tell you right here, right now, FIFO is not the standalone problem here. Yes, too, I've also been born and raised in this town and love it to bits. We actually heard Roger speak around the HBI plant, and in my personal opinion, I think that the closure of the HBI plant was the start of the inevitable where we stand today. And it's not just because of the FIFO. You put your memory back that far long ago, we start talking about 8 hours a day. Now, the difference between 8 hours a day to 12 hours a day is a massive change and a massive difference if you expect anybody to get out of their way after a 12-hour day to go down to your sporting and your clubs and etc. and support any more. So while I do agree that the FIFO model is burden might be the right word. However, it's not the only one, and I want to make that clear in my speech that again, if we are going to do a multi-pronged approach to address the issue, we must then also take a multi-pronged approach to identify the issue. Here, it's an easy solution: build more houses. And again, if anyone has the answer to that, my door is always open. My phone is on the internet. Please give me a call and tell me how we can build more houses in the climate that we are and have been in for a long, long time. And that's an honest opinion, because again, we've had multiple businesses come here in the past and tried, and it has failed. So again, we are all ears. We as a council are sitting here saying that we are trying new things, and this is the example of it. I think other councils have touched on it as well. We need to take the humanity side of this as well. We've heard the conversation around the suicide, the family breakups, etc. Yeah, there is a negative side to this industry, or this section of the industry, and yet we hear in the debate just recently that the intent is to get them away from the one place that we're trying to build up so they can actually make use of it. We want a camp inbuilt into our community. Why? It's because we're never getting rid of FIFO. If you think you are, I would love to see how that might happen. I think the question is, again, do we get rid of FIFO, or do we agree to the exact, to an nth degree of where that level should be? I don't believe, and I'll stand here today and say I don't believe that eradication of FIFO is the answer. And I don't think it's actually plausible and it could even get done. And I'm, again, happy to be corrected. But right now, I think we're fighting against two ends of the spectrum that potentially might not be delivered. I would love to see how we talk about it. And we talk about it in the strategic plans and all the CBPs that we've got. We want to integrate. This is a clear example that the town of Port Hedland is committed to try and address an issue that we go, okay, we get a new revenue stream outside of our rates, so we don't just be reliant on our ratepayers. However, we do acknowledge the fact that FIFO has a place in this town. However, there are strict limitations to what they build. There's no longer a donga camp anymore, like what was mentioned before. There's a lot of thought, there's a lot of money, a lot of effort being put into these designs and the context of how this camp will be put together. Second to that is the location. We want it next to our best buildings and our best infrastructure. Why? And so the FIFO people who, yes, might not vote for us, we still should be angling for and speaking on behalf, because we know people are dying from suicide. We know families are being torn apart. And if we can do anything to help that stem that sort of situation, we should be doing it all we can to make that happen. And again, I think it's the perfect location. We've committed to the shifts, we've committed to the Performing Arts Centre, we've committed to the swimming pool. How good would it be to allow workforce to actually get out and be a part of civilization, what they've been lacking, what they've been missing for so long? So, second to that, back to the nitty gritty of this. This is a strategic approach that was identified by the council to go, hey, we need to diversify our revenue stream. We are a part of the beast that a lot of people don't like, and I agree, that's not the greatest idea and a solution, but it is a solution right now. You know, we looked at, I think it was 1,500 rooms and houses were asked for, and you look at the price tag considered from a 1,500 man camp to a 1,500 man build, it's $1 billion. In order to make $1 billion worth of housing get built around here, I'm interested to see how we can find that funding and make that happen. We can barely get the state government to build enough houses from their portfolio to actually help with that. So, again, I'm for council here sitting here and saying there's a solution out there. But again, as to your point, Councillor Blanco, make it tangibly to the point where you can actually go, it's actually tangible, it can be done. Because I disagree that you can find $1 billion in this industry.
Certainly, Councillor.
I'm entitled to it.
Continue.
As you mentioned before, it's in the speech, so we can do what we need in speech.
Councillor.
So again, it needs to come back to the premise of the whole conversation here is, again, in the current situation, this is, in my mind, the better situation that we, in the current situation we find ourselves, this is a good alternative method to stem what is coming in the next 5 to 10 years, where we talk about 5,000 to 10,000 people wanting to come and be a part of Headland to take advantage of the boom that we've had previously. So I commend the administration for thinking outside the box and trying something different. And again, I know it's not going to be felt very nicely out in the community, but again, it's something different. And again, I'm happy to see where this takes us. So thanks for that and see how we go.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Christensen. Okay, we'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? 5. Those against? 3. Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, 7.4 infrastructure services, there is nil. 7.5 executive services, there is nil. Matter number 8, matters for which a meeting may be closed, confidential matters. We have a confidential matter considered by council tonight, so I recommend that council close the meeting to members of the public as described under section 5.2.3.2 of the Local Government Act 1995 to consider item 8.1. Can I have a member please to go behind closed doors? Thank you, Councillor Christensen. Can I have a seconder please? Thank you, Councillor Turner. Is anyone against that motion? Motion's carried. Thank you. 7. directors are gone? Oh, okay, all right. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight that the council, one, acknowledges and considers Carla Skew's Executive Officer request for renewal of the contract for a further 3-year term. And two, approves the renewal contract with Carla Skew for the 3-year term from March 2024 to the 12th, 2027, with no change to the remuneration package. And three, authorise the Mayor, in accordance with S 9.49A of the Local Government Act 1995, to execute the employment contract under the same terms and conditions based upon the Walgett template. The motion was carried 6-2. Thank you, councillors. Item number 9, closure. 9.1, the date of the next ordinary council meeting will be held on 27th of March 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Before we close tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say a very good luck to Director Jo Banshee, who's actually leaving the organisation. It's been a pleasure working with her, and I wish her all the best in her endeavours into the future. Thank you, Jo, for your help and all your support for the town. 9.2, being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 8:08 p.m. I'd like to thank councillors, members of the public, and the staff for their attendance. Thank you.